Never. All right.
Get straight into it.
Wow, yeah, right into it.
That's a good introduction to the episode. Singing. That was good. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Talk It Out with me, Marco Ritchie, and my co-host and good friend, Ivan Kaima. I say welcome back because we've now done 3 episodes, and I'm sure you've gone and watched the other episodes. And now we're on episode, 4, I think it is?
I believe it's 5 now, 6.
5 or 6, is it?
Yeah, one of those. It's been a long. I know we've both been busy, so it's good that we've been able to
very busy. It's the first one we've done in 3 weeks, something like that.
I believe so, 3 weeks.
Yeah, we've both been very busy. As we've mentioned before, we've both got our own little kind of businesses that we're trying to get going. So we've just been very busy with that stuff, I think.
Yeah, man. You know, just getting on with all that. A lot of realizations, a lot of struggles, and lots of pitfalls that has happened over these last couple of weeks. But it's also good reflections, good learning points, and just ways in which we can carry on improving as men and looking after our mental health, which is the most important thing.
Yes, of course it is. Today we haven't really got much of a topic, I suppose. We're just kind of catching up after a few weeks. We're obviously living in lockdown times, so perhaps a lot of what we're going to talk about might hit on the kind of situation that we're in with lockdown, mental health, whole COVID situation. So I suppose the first thing really to just throw out there is, how you doing, Ivan? This is the first time even I've spoken to you in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I do see on PS4 and send you a few invites which you ignore, but that's fine. That's for another.
Mate, I'm busy. Single player games, mate. I can't just jump into a multiplayer.
Again, that's excuses he's making, but another day. But I'm doing fine, Marco, bro. Thank you for asking. I think these last couple of weeks for me have been a bit challenging. I mean, this was the first time in a very long time that the lockdown has actually got to me. So I've been very reflective, and also I've been very kind of disheartened and a bit down, just thinking to myself, you know, those negative thoughts creep in about, you know, have I wasted time? Am I missing out on opportunities? This has really taken a year off my life, this COVID, if you think about it. We started this March 15th. It's coming up to that, and we're still in lockdown. It's been a lot. It's been tense. And I think for the most part, I've just kind of skirted through it all and just trying to go past it and just try to treat it as any other day, you know, attack it head on. Just don't think about anything else, tunnel vision, next day. And I credit that to American football. Just that thinking of whenever you're having a bad day, which equates to a bad play, you move on, forget about it, onto the next play. But it's been a bit harder this time around because of everything that's at stake. Since lockdown, you know, I've really been pushing Spieler, my company, which I've been doing for a little while now. And, you know, we went for a lot of money, which we got rejected by. And, you know, it's that feeling of somebody else validating your work that really gets to you. On the most part, I have a tough chin. You don't let that get to you. But I think that combined with the whole lockdown, how I've been feeling, really got to me a lot more. You actually, unfortunately, it begins to creep in and you start doubting yourself a little bit, which is a cardinal sin in the world of startups, you know, doubting yourself. And it's okay to have your down days, but I really was tested, and it took a little while, took a little bit of reflection, and just took a kicking in the butt, I would say, from those that love me and care about me, just to really make sure I celebrate small victories and don't let any kind of setbacks stop you from doing what you need to do and what you feel you need to do. You know, I realized this is my passion, and when you love something enough, that passion will drive you all the way forward, even when you get tested, and you will have lots of tested days. And so I needed to hear that, and I'm slowly been making my way up from that negative feeling I was having. It affected me mentally because my anxiety was going through the roof. You know, that combined with the anxiety, combined with the lockdown, makes you start questioning things 10 times worse. And that's the beauty, I guess, of knowing your mental health issue and dealing with it. Knowing it in the sense of, you know, okay, you can't ignore it. Anxiety, you can't push it away because eventually it will creep up on you, and then knowing enough to deal with it, which has been very powerful. Because, you know, ultimately, I see anxiety like a siren. It's like a bell. You have to tend to it. You have to get to it. It's like an itch. It's only something you can ignore it before it tells you, hey, do something about it. So, you know, in a way, it's a blessing and a curse. And you know, just how I use it to drive me has been the most important thing. Yeah. Doing a lot better now these last couple of days, and really just focusing back and getting on with things and looking forward to, you know, the potential less restrictions that are in place, and really celebrating small victories. So, yeah, man. That's how I've been, bro.
Okay, so is this like would you say this is like the kind of first time this has affected you during the lockdown?
Oh, definitely.
Like a build up.
Definitely. The whole last year, this whole year gone, I've treated things just as the next play. Like keep going. Of course, I have my family, my friends, my loved ones to keep me distracted, but there's still that elephant in the room that you're still locked down and you can't necessarily do the things that you wanted to do. You know, I've missed out on money, I've missed out on opportunities, physical aspects of things. And you know, people tell you, oh yeah, go on, move on to online, do things online, but there's only so much you can actually do online as well. So you know, in ways in which it doesn't necessarily hinder you, but it does limit you. So it's been able to deal with that. And I think, yeah, I would say it's the first time this whole year that I've actually felt really down about it. So not too bad, but enough for me to reflect, which I don't do often, which I will start doing going forward.
Yeah. Well, I think just to kind of build you up a bit, you are one of the most driven people that I know. And just seeing kind of, because I've been completely unaware of this. I know we're good mates, we stay in contact a lot, but to anyone who's listening to this and watching it, like this is the first time I've been aware of this from your point of view, how you're feeling. But I've actually been like really quite impressed with how you just kept going, kept plugging away and getting on with your business, and nothing seemed to affect you. And you are very much that kind of attitude of just keep going. Like you do take your kind of criticisms and you apply them constructively, and then you move forward and you keep moving forward. It's all about progress. So I've always kind of envied that a little bit, I suppose, because I don't feel like I've got that. So seeing you do that, I don't know, to me it's always been pretty inspirational, and I've only ever really seen during this lockdown period a continuation of that behavior. So to me it's quite surprising to hear you say this, but then I suppose that's why we're doing this podcast, man.
Yeah, and that's the human part of me that kicks in every now and again, you know.
Yeah.
And you know what, Marco, thank you for so much for those words, man. Again, my motivation and my drive stems from grief, and it also stems from passion. So my grief, losing my dad and my brother, that is something where my culture, Ugandan culture, you just get on with things. It's you know, you don't want to face something called lugambo. That means gossip, talk, conversation. You don't want to get drawn into that stuff. So that, my grief of losing that, I became very obsessed. My way of dealing with pain was just to get on, throw yourself into something to not deal with it. I avoided the feelings of my father's passing and my brother for 10 years. So after doing something for 10 years, you become pretty much good at becoming obsessed with things and driving forward and ignoring it. I was running away from pain as opposed to facing it. And over the last, I would say from 22 to 28, I really accepted everything and really started to deal with things. But I realized I still kept my motivation intact. But one thing I've definitely become more open to is having those days where, it's okay to feel low. It's okay not to have it all together. I never used to accept that because I used to always think I was weakness. So what you saw in me, that drive that you saw, you said you was inspired by my determination to keep going. A lot of it was just because I thought it was weak to stop and falter and to have a little, tear to yourself or a little time to yourself. I just thought that was weakness. I thought if I stop, I'm dead, stagnant. My mindset, there's no gray area with me sometimes. You're predator or you're prey. Survival of the fittest. You either keep moving or you die. That's my extreme. And so having that has always been a good driving force, and it's definitely brought me a lot of success, but it's also brought me a lot of problems, like sacrifices, not being emotionally available all the time, not understanding how others feel. Because I'm so driven and motivated to succeed and do well, I do not let anything stand in my path to stop that. And but I've learned to accept that I will have days where I'm not going to be a motor machine all the time, and that's okay. Have those days, have those moments. It's never that long anyway, and then get back to it. And I had my moment, where I kind of just doubted myself a little bit. But it's only been the one time this whole year. So, progress. Even then, it's not the worst. But it's just learning from those things and getting that motivation back, which I've been able to do. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the way that you describe it then, when you were talking about like your predator or your prey, and you've always used that as your motivation. Just as someone from the outside, I'm no therapist, but that sounds very kind of anxiety inducing, where it's just like you either do it or you don't. Like it's very,
there's no gray areas, man. There's no gray areas.
So
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say I could see where you kind of get your anxiety from, really, if that's your mindset all the time.
It's my mindset all the time to not switch off. And, when you're young and you're starting out and you're doing your things, that's cool. Like you can get, because what have you really got to worry about when you're young? Like I'm living at home, I'm not paying bills, I'm not doing rent, I'm just partying. So it's easy to have that kind of side and then other side to do my stuff. But now as I get older and, things have slowed down, I've got more responsibilities and expectations of me, you start to worry about those things a bit more. making sure you're standing up to expectations. So I've always learned the best way to do that is just to keep moving, keep going. And that's okay. And I'm still a big believer in that. I'm still always going to have that because it's innately in me to be passionate and driven and motivated and to not stop. However, it's important to also know that you are human. You have limitations and you can't keep doing what you're doing if you're not looking after yourself properly. So it's anxiety, when someone that suffers from anxiety, there is that thing where you don't have a gray area. Either it happens or it doesn't. I fail, even to this day, I fail to see the middle. So it's either yes or no, high or low. There's no maybes with me. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it. If you don't, you don't. And I think that's why I get a lot of frustration with people as well that I work with. I have this big thing where I always feel away when people don't work as hard or as smart as me. Or not smart, sorry, as hard or as determined as me. But that's not anything they're doing wrong. It's just me, because the level I work at, what I expect is so high that it would give anybody anxiety. But again, it's led to a lot of my success, my financial success, my kind of work success, my business success. It's led to a lot of it, but then it's come with a lot of drawbacks. So it's about finding that first time ever, finding that balance.
But that kind of mindset, I actually think that mindset is kind of is a bit glamorized, in a lot of the stuff that we watch. This idea of like, you've constantly got to be like on the ball, like hustling for the next kind of like high, always seeking that progress and stuff. And it's kind of like, progress doesn't necessarily mean that you're taking another step forward and keep going all the time. Sometimes progress can look like standing still and just taking in the moment and just developing in that space, and then keep progressing. Do you know what I mean?
You're totally right. I'm just laughing because it's like, you hit the nail on the head, man. Progress is progress. It is very glamorized because, again, this all stemmed from grief. It wasn't fun. I didn't just wake up and say to myself, oh, you know what, I'm going to become super obsessed. No, you need a spark. You need a driving force. So most people, it's that need to be rich or famous. So that's not mine. Mine was running away from pain. I didn't want to face my father and my brother's passing. So I thought, if I throw myself into things, I don't have to deal with that. But then every time it kept creeping up on me, I would just say, okay, keep going. I don't want to face it, keep going. Mine was a fear. It was a fear that kind of now developed into everything else. But unfortunately, there's only so much you can keep of your personal and your work life before it starts to intertwine between one another. So it's about learning that and understanding what the problem of that, and knowing that it's a problem, and knowing that it affects others and not just yourself, and making sure that you're taking the right steps. And again, for the most part, it's innately in me now, so I'm always going to be that way. But I'm just smarter with it now, and I'm just more I take time. I don't just keep going. I take time to take a step back and be thankful for however much I've achieved in life, and also thankful for my, my mental health as well. Making sure I'm looking after that, because that feeling you get when you're laying down and nothing, you're okay 1 minute, and all of a sudden fear, creep, doubt hits you. Your body starts shaking, your heart starts palpitating. You feel like the walls and everything's closing in, and you don't know what to do. And you're like, you start breathing, you even start breathing out, thinking what's going on. It's an irrational fear, but when it hits and then it stops, and then you're able to capture your breath, you realize I can't keep living like this. I've got to deal with it. I've got to deal with the core root of the problem. And more often than not, it's an irrational fear. It's irrational. It's not there. It's whatever you're doing to yourself. So make sure you're answering that bell, which is that mental health issue you may be having, and looking after it, treating it. Don't run away from it. Don't block it because it's there. Treat it. It's your body's way of telling you there's something wrong, and don't try to run from it or hide from it. But it's because you always have to pay the piper. You're always going to have to pay the piper.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So is this like, so you're saying this is basically like a build-up of lockdown, or this is something that you've been dealing with for years? It just so happens that lockdown has kind of...
Lockdown's more of a trigger than anything.
Triggered it a bit, yeah? Is that because you're kind of like, you are essentially like the rest of us, we're isolated?
Yeah, not that doesn't really bother me that much. I love being alone. Like I love my own space. I love being alone. I love having my space and being to myself. And I'm so thankful I have an understanding girlfriend, understanding partner that gets that. But that's again not on anyone. I've just always I've been living at home for so long that having this time to myself is allowing me to process, get rid of all kind of stress, strain, weight, and just really focus positively ahead. And I'm feeling like I'm doing a lot better now living alone. This is more so just a combination of things I've been ignoring for the longest time and just kind of pushed in the back burner. But now I've kicked the can down the road, but now I'm getting closer to that can. So it's just, and it's you're just kicking things down the road. You're just pushing. It's like NFL terminology. You're pushing the cap space into the future. It's the knowing that you have to pay the piper later, and it's kind of like the hustle and my motivation and my drive. I know that I'm doing it right now, but eventually I have to pay the piper. I have to face whatever issue this is until I get rid of that, and then I can move on to the next hurdle. So I say that's just what I'm going through now. So I'm hoping the next time I have another situation like this, which I've pushed into the back burner, that's another 5 years from now. Or another year from now. You 1 year, 3 year, 5 year. It's in my 5 year plan. So to do with it at some point.
Nice. Well, at least I think it's important that you can kind of sit there and identify it and know that, you know, something's going on. I need to do something about this. If you were saying to me like, oh, this is going on, I'm not really sure of what's happening, that's when it gets a bit concerning, when it's like you can't really identify it and you're not really understanding how to support yourself. But you're pretty clued up on like your anxiety. You've got a diagnosis, so you know what it is that's affecting you and how to help yourself. I think to kind of link it back to why we're doing this, it's so important to kind of like be able to identify those symptoms that are obviously causing a problem. And if you have those symptoms, go and talk to a professional or something, because they're probably going to give you a diagnosis. They're probably going to say, look, this is an issue. This is how you can help yourself out. And I think we've both benefited from that, basically.
Definitely, especially my therapy. You know, the 16 seconds I had, definitely taking the tools.
Definitely.
Because before I'd done it, I was having this problem, but it was a lot more frequent, and I didn't know where it was coming from. To the point that I thought, am I gonna die? Because my heart can't keep beating like this. And I don't think you understand how physically exhausting going through an episode is. Once you're finished that episode, you are so tired and so beat down. It really takes a toll on your body. I just thought, I can't live like this no more, bruv. Yeah. I've got to deal with this. That's why I applaud, but at the same time I criticize those that suffer in silence, because it's not healthy. I applaud it only because it's impressive to stay quiet that long, because it's too taxing on me, but because that takes another bit of strength. But it's bad that you're letting it even get to that point, because it's going to do more harm than good. And so, you know, having therapy again has worked wonders for me, and I can't scream it to the room enough how important it is to have therapy. So, you know, I think, you know, that experience and the things I've learned have really taken me a long way. And again, to have one kind of bad day out of how many in a year, it's 365, you know, says COVID, it's not too bad. And knowing that I'm dealing with it. And that's because every day I'm dealing with my problems. Like, if I come across a little doubt or a little problem, I actually address it head on. But this one was more so just a build up. The most recent problem I had was just a build up of expectation. Then to be let down was what bothered me the most. Not anything in particular. It was just building myself up a bit more. But I've learned to not build myself up and just keep going positively, because again, in the Bible it says, you know, you reap what you sow. I'm a big believer in that. So, you know, that's to anybody that's not. But I just really appreciate some of the words and the quotes from the Bible, and you know, just to keep going, keep pushing, keep working. Because if you do, I do believe you'll be rewarded in some way.
So before this kind of like this past few days or whenever this episode kind of started, were you just feeling perfectly fine during this whole lockdown period? Was anything affecting you?
I was fine on the most part. Mostly just lockdown. I can't do this, because you know, we have releases. My release was I'll go to the party, I'll go gymming, I'll go clubbing, I'll go play football. Not having a release, like a stress release as well, on top of that, builds. So you try to compensate where you can. But it does get to that point where if you're not releasing enough energy or enough pent up stress or emotion, it's going to overtake you. We're humans, you know, we all have boiling points. We're all going to get to a point where it's like, you need to release in some way. Mine just got to that point.
Yeah, fair enough. So I think from my point of view, I think that's a big factor for a lot of people, is not having that outlet of just being like, you're stuck indoors. You haven't, even if it's just like you can't go out and just get some fresh air and see some green area, stretch your legs. Like, that's a pretty big kind of restriction of a freedom that you're usually used to, which is being able to just go outside.
Can I tell you that
it's slightly like this?
I don't know if I can swear, but that's serious stuff. I went out yesterday for a walk up a hill. You know, Shortlands, Beckenham, that area. Shortlands.
Oh yeah.
We took a walk around that park, mate. By the time I was done, I had to sit down. I was panting. My ass, I'm pretty sure I tore an ass muscle or something. I was in pain, bro. And that's just walking. I wasn't even jogging. I was walking. That shows you how ineffective my legs have been. And now I've got delayed onset muscle syndrome. Like, my legs are just jelly right now.
You've got DOMS from going.
Yeah, DOMS, mate.
Wow.
so it's that's where I'm at right now, mate, and that's where I'm trying to sort out at the moment. So yeah.
Fair enough. But it sounds like you're kind of on top of it, and you're kind of at least you're aware of it
For now.
For now,
yeah, working on it for now, and that's
I'll
the
be
best
honest.
thing about it. Accepting that you've got this situation and working on it, I would say that's the best thing about it.
Yeah. So the kind of, like I said at the start, like we kind of maybe hit on COVID, maybe hit on lockdown scenarios, and you have given a pretty good account of how you've been feeling through lockdown. Do you think, just for like everyone else at home as well, we're kind of speaking on people's behalf, but do you think, I mean, how do you think this is going to affect like the new normal, as it were? This whole scenario.
There's no new normal to me, mate. Once this is restrictions done, I'm going back to living exactly how I was.
Yeah.
Out here, partying, raving, enjoying myself, going out. I think things will change a bit more in the sense of people will just be a bit more careful with how they move or what they get and what they aim to do. But on the most part, it's only been 1 year. You're not gonna 1 year of not doing something's not gonna remove itself from the human psyche. I understand if it was 5 years, but it's only been a year. People are gonna get back to normal. Um, I believe this new normal, I don't buy it unless you mean it. This new normal is something where maybe we wait in a line to queue or we have to wear face masks in certain places. I don't believe it will change maybe human behavior, but maybe it will just change a few rules that we used to do. Because am I correct in assuming that most social distancing rules and stuff will be scrapped anyway, June 21st?
I presume so, yeah. I mean,
So if that's the case, then I don't think a year is going to make much of a difference to people's psyche.
yeah, no, I suppose what I was kind of alluding to with the new normal was a kind of a new approach to mental health.
Oh, we'd love to say, but I don't have much faith in this country, so no, I doubt it. No, because we're the same country that said we're going to do more for the Paralympics after 2012 and nothing was done. Sebastian Coe put out a report a couple of years later saying nothing was done. Are we not the same country that promises to do all this and that for people of color or people with mental health, open up facilities and nothing's done? I have no faith in this country. I don't believe this country's word. Listen, a man, whoever, word is bond. And for me, I'm still old school, principled in honor and belief and integrity and keeping your word. This country lacks all of those above. So no, I don't believe this country's going to do anything.
It's funny you say it. Sorry, go on, carry on.
I'm just saying I'm not saying this on a political sense. I'm not one of these political people. That's just my own observation.
Yeah. So it's funny you should say that, because I was reading about, I've been reading a lot about kind of like how like working from home is affecting people's mental health and how people they can't get behind this idea of blending their home where they're supposed to be relaxing with their work environment. And that's just becoming one environment. It's causing massive amounts of stress, and like they're not being able to finish work on time. They're effectively just working all the time, unless it's a weekend, because it's just there. Their laptop's there. They can just open it and check an email, that kind of stuff. And seeing the kind of effect on employees. Like I've been reading a lot about employee stress levels going up, anxiety. Antidepressant prescriptions apparently have doubled across the country, or I think it's doubled, or at least it's a record high since the start of lockdown. And there's a lot of workers just in general are feeling the stress of the situation. And I've also read how this idea of working from home, which weirdly at a kind of start of the lockdown, it kind of felt like a lot of people were behind working from home and thinking, oh, this is quite nice because I'm in a nicer environment. It's a lot quieter. I can kind of get on with my work. Now towards the end of lockdown, people kind of chomping at the bit to be like, no, I want to get back into like an environment that isn't my house, a completely different environment to do my work. So it's just quite interesting to see how it's changed. And when I'm saying about like the new normal, I suppose it's odd to think that the first kind of lockdown period, it felt like a new normal was kind of realistic, in that employers might start kind of letting people work from home a lot more. But now it kind of feels like we're swinging back to what we were doing. I don't know. How do you feel about that? Have you noticed anything like that?
As humans, look, we compartmentalize things. So we have, humans, I think we take, the waterfall method. In IT, there's something called a waterfall method, and you go from one stage to another. Iterative is where you keep adapting, changing things. Waterfall is you do one stage. Once that's completely done, you move on to the next one. That's kind of like how we think as well as humans. We compartmentalize. So once we finish our 9 to 5 block at work, we completely escape from that and go home. Home is our escape. It's our peace. It's our joy. We can unwind and unlock from the world. We're now stuck in an environment where we're unable to separate the two. Work is, your people who are at home chilling, they're getting emails at 10 p.m. now. Boundaries and spaces are starting to be compromised, and people are not seeing that. I don't understand. Employees don't understand the significance of that and what that means to people. So I think, why people want to go back and why we're seeing such a spike in more people being miserable work from home is because it doesn't provide a release. Because think about work life, if you're a parent, you've got to deal with kids and at home, and then you've got to tell me you've got to do work on top of that as well. Combining the two is a nightmare. Whereas from work, at least if you're at work, you don't have to worry about one thing. You just focus on one. By the time you leave one thing, you then go into another thing. You still have that, even that travel home is a space break. It's kind of like that boundary break. And so you're able to have that respite. Now people are not getting any respite whatsoever. So I think it's just a combination of a lot of those things which are causing that. And again, that can't be a new normal. And that's why I think something like that can't be, because it's just going to do more harm than good. And that's why I think, again, even a year has shown that it can't work. It's nice for a few days working, but so is eating Cocoa Puffs for a couple of days. That's nice. It's non-stop. But then eventually, as humans, we get sick of the same thing over and over again, repetition. Yeah. We get sick of that. So I think that's also a part to play in the problem. And I don't believe that will be a new normal.
No, fair enough. I mean, I remember reading stuff about how people were like trying to reenact their workday. Have you seen that? So they're obviously working at home rather than in an office, but to try and make themselves feel better, they would do like for the same length of time as their usual commute, they might go for like a walk and listen to a podcast. So like reenacting their commute. But
so them going for a 20-minute walk was equivalent to an hour walk. That's their travel time to get into work and all
that. Yeah. Just to kind of create that boundary between like home and work.
Yeah.
So they come home with a different mindset, like the work mindset, which I kind of understand. First time I heard it, I was like, I don't understand that at all. That's bizarre.
What a waste of time.
But I do get it, because when I wake up and I really cannot stand it if I wake up and it's like, I don't know, half an hour before I start work. It's like, man, I haven't even been able to wake up and like kind of digest the fact that it's another work day, just like digest the headlines and that kind of stuff.
And it plays into everything, right? Because weekends don't even feel like weekends anymore. It just feels like an extended lunch break. Like I have a weekend, Friday, Saturday doesn't feel like, Saturday, Sunday doesn't feel like anything to me. It just feels like another day, literally. So not having that kind of differences or something to look forward to. We as humans, we're pack creatures. We need to belong, but we need to have something to look forward to motivate us, to keep us going. When you don't have that, you fall into these cycles. So that's why I think once restrictions open, we're not going to get used to this new normal. We are creatures of comfort. We need to get back to those comforts, which include, we complain about it, but we love it. We're so routine, we're so conditioned to do it that we can't survive without having that kind of space break or some kind of routine that separates us and gives us a form of escapism. Do you know what I mean? And that's where, again, that's why I'm a bit different, because I'm just keep going. Not necessarily it's the best way, but that's just a way which has helped me cope as well.
Yeah. I've never really thought about it from the kind of compartmentalization of like days. I've never really thought about it like that.
Think about it. We do compartmentalize our days. We know that on Monday I'm going to do. It's like it falls into everything. Monday I'm going to go work. Tuesday I'll go work in gym. Wednesday I'm going to rest. Thursday, all of these are compartmentalizing our days. We plan all the time. We as humans, we're natural planners, and I think that's been with us since the dawn of time. And that's what's allowed us to kind of keep going and modernize and change ourselves, having routines and having something to look forward to, or having a plan. And that all falls into it. And so it's important that we keep it, and I urge people to make sure you keep a routine or a plan in place to help you cope until this is over.
Yeah. Have you got any kind of plans like that?
Oh, I'm always little bit plans, mate. My mind, if you could open up my mind, it's just a huge Kanban board of all things I need to get done. Progress, completion. Yeah. My mind is a Kanban board. I can't stop. One of the things, it's a blessing, it's a curse, because I can't stop thinking. I'm always thinking, what next? What more can I do? I feel guilty if I don't go a day without doing something related to Spilo or work or doing something, because I'm all about, right now in my life, I'm all about wealth, gaining money, building wealth, getting out the rat race and just living my own life. And I'm at that stage now where I'm taking risks. I'm going to invest in the things I didn't invest in because I need to make sure I lay the foundation now because I'm thinking wife, kids soon. So, making sure that's patterned and looked after. For those that don't understand, pattern just means secure. It's kind of a ends Londonish slang for secured, patterned.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know. Of course you wouldn't. How would you know? How would you know?
Well, I learned a lot of this lingo from you, to be honest.
You do. You've done a good job, mate.
In front of me, so.
And I've learned a bit from you as well. So
What's that then?
I'm joking. I was hoping you skip on. I haven't really. I've learned some fun facts from you. Not lingo, but just general fun facts I've learned from you.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, that's pretty much been me, mate. I'm looking forward to kind of tackling on, getting on, and working with the new parameters I'm faced at the moment, and dealing with it, and also making sure I'm dealing with my issues and not ignoring anything. But I know we're not not hanging on too long. But how are you doing, mate? How's things with you anyway?
No, well, it's quite funny that you should communicate how you've recently kind of had this episode. I wouldn't say I've had, I wouldn't call it an episode, but like the past couple of days have been pretty tough. But for me, it's kind of come in very extended waves for me. So like the start of lockdown, it was only a few weeks in and I was starting to feel the strain. Like I was feeling pretty down. I was feeling very anxious because it was like I felt like everything had stopped. But then weirdly, I kind of swung completely the other way because I am very much an introvert at heart. So I like my own space. So I was very much kind of like, oh, this isn't too bad. Like I'm just sitting at home. I finished my work day. I'm already at home. I'm not wasting any time, kind of thing.
Saving some money.
What was that?
Saving some money.
Saving a lot of money, not spending it on commute and food and stuff like that. But yeah, it's been weird. Like the way that I manage these kind of things, it's kind of like I'm aware that something's affecting me, but equally not. I know that doesn't really make too much sense, but kind of like not being able to label how something's affecting me. I just know that it's not necessarily a positive, and that won't really affect me until a couple of weeks down the line, and I'll think, oh, I'm having a really bad day. I'm actually not feeling too good today. And then I can think back and go, oh, actually, it's probably because of something that happened a couple of weeks ago, and actually that's built up and whatever. The past couple of days, have been a bit of a struggle. I think part of it for me, there's a lot going on in terms of, I mentioned it earlier, we've both got small businesses we're trying to kind of build up. I'm a lot younger in terms of the process than you are, Ivan, but it is still very much a process of kind of trying really hard to build an infrastructure of something that you're very passionate about, and almost feeling like there's a time frame on it. And for me, like time frames are quite a big trigger for my anxiety. Now, I'm not very good at like deadlines and stuff like that because I really start to feel it when I get close to that deadline. But I've got that going on. Work as well. I'm a freelance writer, so for me, not only is it the freelancing part where it's kind of like trying to figure out when the next contract's going to come along, how I'm going to continue getting my kind of money coming in. There's that constant undercurrent of stress, but also just in general, like my workload's been pretty heavy. I don't know if it's because of the time of the year. And then there's other stuff like in a few months' time, I'm a best man at a wedding, and the responsibility of that kicked in the past couple of weeks. I'm like, oh God, I've actually got to do that in a few months' time. I need to sort something out. And everything's just kind of like snowballed, I suppose. Until this morning, I was talking to my girlfriend and talking through it, and actually just that like half an hour chat actually helped me kind of compartmentalize stuff, because in my head it just becomes this massive like cloud of just noise and responsibilities, and nothing's not a single thing isn't kind of clear. It's just I can look at that cloud and there's multiple kind of things in there. If you see what I mean, things are kind of jumping out and going, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, and not really knowing when I can or how to do it. But actually, once I sat down and had that chat, it was kind of like, all right, let's just write this down. Let's write down what we need to do. And with that, it kind of helped me put things into perspective. So I'm feeling a lot better now than I was, for example, this morning or yesterday. But yeah, it's just funny that you're saying that you started to feel the pressure past few days, and me too.
Yeah, but we're human, you know, and it doesn't stop and defer the fact that you're doing a great thing. And like I said, Talking Man Health is absolutely fantastic, and that's a testament to you and how I've seen your progress. And I'm very proud of how you've managed to come and bring it all together with next to nothing. And that's a really impressive trait, and that will take you very far. And that is why it will succeed. But it just depends what success looks like to you. And if I had to be honest, I definitely think you're on the right path to ultimate success. So just keep going.
Thanks, man. That's nice to hear.
No problem, man. I mean, you don't pick up the phone much, and you don't respond to my PS4 invites. But what can you do? All you can do is continue to love and support your friends, isn't it, guys? That's what you can do, even when they don't show you that back. What can you do?
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
I'm just joking.
A really nice compliment. Just followed up with that backhand afterwards.
Yeah, I do it to my girlfriend.
Backhand compliment.
I do it to my girlfriend all the time. She doesn't like people. But
I'm sure she loves that, mate. I'm sure she loves that.
It keeps you on the toes, mate. It keeps you on the toes. So doesn't let you fall sinking too deep.
Yeah.
It's character building, end of the day. But no, it's good to hear. But no, thank you, Marco, for that. This was fun. It was nice to kind of get a load off my chest, and I'm sure the same was for yourself. And knowing that, you know, mental health is important, and it's okay to have it, and we're dealing with it. And anybody here that's listening, it's okay. You can talk to us, you can talk to whoever, and just know that we're all going through it. All of us, we all have our different ways in which we're dealing with it. But knowing that, acknowledging it, and working towards the best version of yourself, and working towards dealing with it. That's all you can ask for yourself. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Yeah,
I think especially now, like, just if you feel like you need a break, just give yourself the break. Like, we're all going through something that particularly our generation and after, we've never experienced this. So it's understandable if you're feeling low or you're feeling particularly anxious or stressed. It's completely understandable. We're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
So just give yourself a break, really.
Be kind to yourself. Well, as my therapist always says, free advice, compassion starts with yourself. That's the most powerful thing I took away from my therapist. Compassion starts with yourself. Look after yourself first, and the rest will follow.
It's very true.
Yeah. Thank you, Marco, anyway. This has been fun.
Yeah, it's been good.
Hope to catch up with you again very soon. Please, guys, thanks for your support. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for listening. We'll promise to get more out. It'll be great to, have some more guests on, which we will be doing soon, and getting your feedback on things. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, next few weeks, next few podcasts, we might be having some special guests on, mightn't we? So it's picking up, hopefully.
Yeah, it's been good so far. So I'm enjoying it, and let's make sure that we hope you guys are as well.
Yeah, definitely. Cool.
Thanks, man.
Cheers, Ivan.
Cheers, Marco.